Welcome back to the second session of the second talk of our afternoon session, first day of ANIMASYROS Agora. We just had a wonderful session talking about Greek animation and from some Greek artists talking about their experiences in academia and how that has helped them grow in their animation careers. And we are very lucky today to have with us some representatives of prestigious schools from Europe to give us their takes, their experiences in working within those schools and how they have helped them or hindered them in their careers as they're setting up. So we have a bunch of different people. I will just quickly introduce them, but they'll talk more about themselves on their own. I'll firstly say that we will soon have on Zoom Claire Matz. She comes from Gobelin. She's a director and a producer. We have with us Simone Pratola. He is a director from the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia in Italy. Yael Nudelman. She is a director, producer, and curator coming from Bezalel in Israel. Daria Kashcheeva is from the Czech Republic and FAMU. And the moderator today is the wonderful Chiara Magri, who is the artistic director of the animation course at Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia. So I will quickly bring Claire up so we can go through the technical stuff first, and we'll get started.
Yes, I can hear you, and I can see some of you. Hello.
You pointed towards the panel, but on the other side, there's a bunch of people listening in to you guys. So I'll give the floor to Chiara, who's going to start up the conversation.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm such a nice company. And I start with Claire, maybe, because maybe it's easier for her. And I'd like to ask you, you're professionally and artistically speaking, where are you now and where do you come from? I mean, your
Claire, did you get that?
It's complicated to hear with the microphone, I have to admit.
That's okay. I'm just going to repeat a little bit here. We're just doing a setup of introductions. Chiara is just asking us for you to give us a little bit of information of where are you at now, what are you doing with your career, and just introduce your just first few information about your academic experience at Gobelin.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. So nice to meet you all. I'm Claire Matz. I'm a French animation artist and producer. I was initially trained in Gobelin in France as an animator and director for animation movies. And due to what happened in my career, I am now producing. I created a production company for animation and transmedia project based in the northeast of France in a small village called Holt, where I live. And I often go to Paris or to other countries when it's necessary, of course. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't be here with you today. I wish I could have, but yeah, sorry for that. Hopefully next year. And so my production company is specialized in world building. We do development of original projects, especially for animation right now, but we would like to also develop a transmedia project like video games that goes with animation project, books, web series, or different things. And right now we are focusing on original project, but we also do pre-production service works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back on this subject of establishing a company, which is maybe a nice next step in your careers. And you, Daria, what are you up to now, and what's your education path?
Yeah, so actually I've just graduated FAMU, Film School in Prague, 1 week ago, and I studied there 9 years, which is quite a lot, but I think it's also really good opportunity to students to have enough time to make their own films. And while I was studying at FAMU, I made 2 films, my bachelor and master degree film. And for both of them, I had quite a lot of time to work properly on them. I think it was quite important. So Daughter was my bachelor, but it had quite big success on festivals, and it got student Oscar and was nominated to Oscar, and it gave me opportunity to have quite good budget for my next film, Electra, which is here on the festival. And so now I just finished the school, but I think I'm quite also long time already didn't think like a student already, but kind of semi-professional. And I think it was kind of this transmission was quite smooth from student to become a professional, because maybe we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
And now, I'm starting to think about my next film, which is going to be a feature, I think.
Feature?
Yeah.
Good luck. Yael, please.
So my name is Yael, and I come from Israel. I did my bachelor's degree in the Tel Aviv University Film School in the VFX department, and then I went to do my master's in Bezalel, which is one of the best, I guess, art schools in Israel. And I made it in a curation, like curatorial studies, and I'm specializing in the curation of animation and film, like the moving image in general. And yeah, I work, I'm mostly working now, so I work at the Hive Studio. It's an animation studio in Israel. I'm in charge of the distribution of films there. And also in the Israeli Animation Guild. It's, I guess, somehow similar to the Animation Guild you have here. And I'm the marketing director there. So that's what I do.
Simone, I know, but please tell them.
Hi, I'm Simone Pratola. I'm from Italy, and my story is very short because I just did the high school, scientific high school, and I always work on animation as a personal hobby. And then I joined the CSC, Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia in Turin. And I just graduated the bachelor degree with my graduation film, it's La Notte. And currently I'm working as a 2D animator, paperless animator. And yeah, I very short period working because I just graduated on December 2022. And yeah, that's it.
My next question is, you see, when you say animation, you are saying a tool or a language maybe, but in terms of education, there are different, as Joanna Quinn was saying before, at least in some countries, not in Italy, but maybe in your countries, there are different schools where you can learn animation with different aims or personalities, those that are more on the image creation, on art side, and other that are more on film language. And so I'm curious to know what direction you thought to pursue when you decided to go to an animation school. If they had, if you had this chance, of course, because in Italy, there's not much actually, so it's one chance maybe, please. Film or art? I mean, it's
Yeah. Actually, I started to think about to be filmmaker quite later in my life, when I was 26, I think. Before that, I made sound design, but yes, and I always was kind of cinephile. Like, I really, all my life, I watched a lot of films, so I'm really kind of more in film than in galleries or art. So, and when decision came to me to try to become a filmmaker, first actually decision was I was in Russia, and so I tried to think where could I learn it, and I knew that in Czech Republic, in general, not only in FAMU or in film school, but in all schools, if you speak Czech language and if you pass exams, entrance exams successfully, you could learn for free, even though you don't have Czech nationality, but like the language, you have to speak language. So my decision to go to Czech was like also because of this. And you don't have to pay for the education. And also in Prague, there are two schools actually. One is FAMU, which is really film school. We have different film departments, editing, camera, sound design, direction of live action films, documentary, and animation. And also there is a school which is School of Applied Arts. But as a cinephile, I understood I wanted to make like really film. And I also heard from friends of mine who was maybe on Erasmus at FAMU or studied there, that I really like that all the departments are collaborating together. And I felt like it's really great to have this kind of synergy from between the departments. So this was my decision.
Maybe we'll discuss later, talking of making film at school.
Yeah.
Claire, sorry, I thought I should have asked you first. What led you to Gobelin? Which passion?
Claire,
feeling?
the question is, what led you to choose Gobelin as the beginning of your career in animation? And what were you expecting? How easy it was to get there? Can you talk to us a little bit about this?
That's a good question. The first thing was that it was the first animation school that people told me about in France. I heard about it when I was in high school, I think, the first time. It was some sort of legend nobody told me about, like, people who draw very well should go to Gobelin, and that's something that you guys can never do. And then that's like the only thing I heard about the school. And then years and years after that, I was doing other studies and I was not feeling very at my place, let's say, in those studies. So I started to research drawing, art schools, animation schools. And then I saw their short movies. So that was the first thing that made me really want to go there. Then I did the open doors. I saw the school itself. It was another motivation because the school and the mood in the school was really nice. All of the students were really great and they gave me lots of advice. And then when I really decided to try to enter this one specifically, it was because I did other studies. I didn't have a job. At that time, I don't know about you guys, but I was doing something in computer programming, something like that. And it was a legend that if you do something in computer programming, you will get a job. This was completely not true at all. And I didn't have a job and I wanted to do something completely different. And so I looked at the animation schools that had in France the most, I don't know the exact term in English, but like the chances, the higher chances of getting you a job after the school. And that was like the higher one was Gobelin. So that's the main reason at that time why I wanted to enter this school specifically. But I tried to enter different ones, and Gobelin was the one that said yes, basically. So I was also interested in MK in Angoulême and in the animation workshop in Viborg.
You were going into sort of an applied art school. It's part of what like. How did you think of your career prospect?
For me, it was definitely applied arts. And animation was the thing that I was mostly interested in since I was a kid. I drew a lot. I was a big fan of manga and Japanese animation. A big fan. I thought I learned how to draw with manga, and then I discovered when I tried to enter Gobelin that I learned how to not draw with manga, and then I needed to forget everything I thought I learned and relearn everything again. But my passion for animation came from Japanese animation initially, and then from Disney, and then from Don Bluth Productions, all of those movies. So for me, it was not only about drawing, it was really about learning how to draw in a very technical way that would allow me to tell stories, I would say.
What did you?
I think my case was a bit complicated. In Israel, we have this in high school, like you can do some subjects where you are specializing in, like even in high school. So I did film. So from the age of 16, I knew I wanted to make films. I just didn't know how. And I was thinking a lot about it, and I was really divided between going to the university for the bachelor's degree or going to Bezalel, because in the university it's a film school and it's very known, but it didn't have any connection to animation at first. And then Bezalel is an art school, it's an art academy, but it's not a film school. And I was really, really divided between what is right for me. And then they opened the VFX program in the university. So I decided I wanted to do this and then go to Bezalel for the master's. In general, I think, like from my experience, it was very, it made my experience much richer. The combination of schools and backgrounds and teachers, and like you get exposed to so much more when you just experience different places of study. So I definitely recommend to be in more places if you can. So that's it.
Simone, what convinced you that CSC was the right place for you? Did you thought of other schools or?
Yeah. So I think that's for me as an Italian is a bit different because nowadays there are a lot of maybe smaller schools about I don't know, technical schools that can teach very technical skills about animation. But CSC was the most famous, the most important school. It's a public school, and it's a very selective school with only 20 students every year. So I don't know, between art and films, because I always love animation in in all its form and possibilities. So I always love Japanese animation too, and especially Miyazaki animation, because his film can talk to a very I don't know, very high audience and very commercial ways in the same time. So personally, I prefer a way of teaching that can merge art with the films they are not divided elements. So I went in CSC because it was the most important school, and I wanted to learn animation skills because I didn't have any artistic skill, and of course I wanted to make a movie with my graduation film. Yeah.
Thank you. Talking of the curriculum, there are many different ways of approaching, of course, but usually you have a diploma film, no? And you make a film as your final essay. But here again, there are so many different ways of doing that. I'm very interested in knowing and discovering the best way to do that, but it much depends on what is expected from the students that can be very different. Speaking, for instance, for your BA level, what's the way of making the final field projects in your schools? How do the school teach you to make your first film? Do you work individually on the idea? What's the process, teamwork? And then for the master, which I guess is much more professional way of working. Claire.
Claire, I don't know if you've heard the question, but we're talking a little bit about the process of getting to your student thesis film, the process that the school follows, how you work through it. Does it happen collaboratively? Does it, just what is the process that Gobelin follows for student film thesis?
So, unlike I think a lot of schools that encourages people to do their own movie, at Gobelin you have to work in groups. It's mandatory, and it's even something that is very important for young people who wants to become students at Gobelin. It's a question that they often ask when you get into the school at the very beginning, like, do you like to work in teams? Because every time you do a short movie at Gobelin, even if it's just an exercise, you will have to do it in teams. And it's the same thing for the graduation movie. But now it's 1 year. So people start in September and they make the group at that moment. And when the people find each other regarding to the kind of stories they want to tell and the kind of mood and atmosphere they want in the movie, then they start writing together, and then pre-production, production, and it lasts a year. So they have to deliver the movie at something like mid-June or something like that. I think now, because I'm starting to be old, they even start to ask people to think about their graduation movie at the end of the year before, so that they have to think about it during the summer, especially about the story. And then in September, the groups are almost already done and the stories are already sort of shaped, even though the script is not written, but that's how it happens. So it's always about teamwork.
To hearing you. So you work in teams or starting from the idea?
Do you work on a team from the idea process, or you come up on the idea on your own and pull a team together?
I would say it depends on every team. From my personal experience, what happened was that there was a person with a concept. Everybody had ideas. but because the school treats the students equally, so what the school says is everybody can be a director and you will all direct your graduation movie, which is in the fact, of course, never true because you have groups of 4, 5, 6 people, and everyone is an artist. Everyone wants to put their ideas in the movie. So what we did in the groups that we made is that we gathered the team around an idea of someone, which was not me, and I was the first to join that person because I didn't really wanted to make a movie about something that would come from me. It was not super important. I just wanted to have a great experience during the year, and that person had a very nice and touching story. So I decided to join forces. And then little by little, we got a group of 6 people. And when we gathered around that idea, we discovered that, of course, some people were not 100% into that idea. So then we made the concept evolve that we could have to make it like we could have a compromise that would be okay for everybody. And then we started to write. And I know that personally at the very beginning, I imposed something to the team, which was, I want us to vote for a director, because I know that we're going to work during a year all together and we are never going to be always on the same side. That's not possible. So when it happens, we need to know that there is one person that will make a decision for us so that the movie can move forward. So we voted, and as I think it is logical, the director, the main director, let's say, was the person who brought the idea at the beginning. I think that makes sense.
Thank you.
How was it like in FAMU? And for you, I mean, this question is about your experience, of course.
Yeah. Like maybe first of all, we have really not a lot of students at FAMU, and each year have maximum 5 people. And the kind of the main idea of it for kind of everybody have a possibility to have access to all the technique and stuff, and also because each student makes his own film. And for the entrance exams for bachelor project, you have to write a kind of idea of the film. It doesn't have to be like, yes, I have to decide now and I will make in 3 years a movie, but you kind of start already think about something. And in my case, it was like I made my bachelor film according to the idea I wrote for my entrance exams. So it was like kind of not like kind of decision, but at the second year I told myself, okay, like this idea is still resonating with me, and then if I have it, I'm going to develop it. And also during first 2 years, each kind of semester we have exercise on each technique. In first year we have to make exercise on drone animation. Actually the entire first year we make drone animation. In second year we make cutout animation on multiplane and oil and sand animation. And in the beginning of the third year we make puppet animation. So we could try all the techniques, and then in the third year we could decide what we are interested to kind of to use the technique for a bachelor film. And also we could decide who is going to be our mentor from all the teachers. We could kind of to choose one mentor, and most of the people choose it according to the technique they choose. For example, to technique. So I've chosen my mentor who is very experienced in stop motion animation. And according to the topic, there is no kind of rules or pushing or something. I think it's really like free, it's freedom like of the student. And also what is, I think, very important, but it happens more in master master program, and also for the master program you have already to have an idea for your master film for the entrance exams, yeah, and you work only on your film the entire master program. And also I think what is really important, and actually it starts on bachelor program. In third year we have a class, it calls pitching, like kind of they teach us how to present our project. And the teachers of this class are producers, professional producers from the industry. And quite often happen that if the teacher like one of the projects which are prepared during this class, he could suggest to be a co-producer of already bachelor film. And it was also in my case with daughter. So like I prepared my project during these pitching classes, and Martin Vandas, who is a producer in Czech Republic, he suggested me kind of with the help to apply to Czech Film Fund to get some money to pay for materials. It was not so much money, but anyway, it helped it. And for master degree, quite often students already work with producers, and also in my case, we had co-production also in 3 countries with France and Slovakia, and I think it's very important and really good that school allows to do this, because I know that it's not kind of often, and in some schools it's really kind of prohibited to use kind of money from fund or to work with co-producers. Our school encourages this, because I think, like for me also, my own experiences, it prepares you to professional life. You already know what to do. You already know where to find producer, how to present your project on pitching forums. How does it work, like collaboration between countries? And like me, a fresh graduate, I know like what to do now. So I think it's yeah.
That's for your master project, not for the.
Yeah, for bachelor, you also could
also
have,
if you can,
yeah, you also could have a professional
and usually
producer.
is this budget covering also professional collaboration from outside eventually, if you got enough, or you?
Yeah, it depends, of course.
Depends.
Also,
But you could anyway.
yeah, also Czech Film Fund mostly like gave more money for master projects than for bachelor, because people are more experienced already. And for example, for Electra and also for other students I know who made master program film like this, me, I was only director, and I had professional animators, and I had also fresh graduates on DOP or on set design, and we paid them because like to make animation film take a lot of time, and to have these professionals really involved in your project, and for they could really give you their time and energy, like it's okay to pay for their work.
So it's a very long project, your lecture, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and it's quite
20
often on FAMO you could prolong your studium to have extra 2 years to make your project properly.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where I did my bachelor's degree, most of the people want to direct films. So we're not necessarily working in groups, but I mean, each one has his own or her own film, and then you help others with theirs, and then they help you with yours. So it's quite divided in groups. You sometimes can also like partner up with people from different departments in the film school, but sometimes it depends on your film. Sometimes they're just less relevant, and it stays more inside of the department. But it works in BCL almost the same for the bachelor's degree. It also, mostly people direct their own films, sometimes in groups of 2, 3 maximum. And people help each other, but also like work a lot on their films by themselves. Like that's a big part of it. And regarding getting money for your film, so where I did my bachelor's, we do get money from the school, and we can also apply for film funds, and we get all the equipment we need from the school if we want to, which is also like could cost a lot of money, but we can apply to film funds, and then if we get the fund, then we get a bit more money. In Bezalel, they don't get money from the school. They just can apply to funds, but I would say the rate of people getting actually money from the funds is higher. So it's very well known for the high level of films that are trying to get.
So during the first 2 years, we generally have generalist teaching about animation skills, workshops about stop motion. So we have a generalist teaching. In the ending of the second year, we have to think about an idea that usually is presented at the beginning of the third year. That's the last year of the school, and each student usually present their own idea. Then with the tutors and teachers, the idea are chosen in 2 phases, if I remember well. And at last, usually 7 or 6 ideas are chosen over the 20 ideas of the entire class. And like in my case, I presented the idea, and my idea was chosen. So I am recognized as the author of the short film, but I'm not the director, because in the CSC we are all the co-directors of the short movie. So it's a democratic way of directing a film, and it's very, very, very useful. And in our case, worked very well, because I had a very clear idea of the film, and also about the music, that is the most important thing of the short movie. But we didn't plan precise roles between us. We did the short film in 3. We were me and Martina and Francesca. But it was a very uniform distribution of roles, because we animated the same amount of animation, very hard work. So yeah, it's a very about teamwork. Yeah. But in CSC, the other part of the short movie, like the sound design and the music, are usually made by professionals of the schools. And yeah, it's that's it. I mean,
Also diploma films, I think. How the school was or not helpful for you in choosing your first step into profession? You said that you have different techniques and experiment different techniques in order to be able also to choose your preferred language when you make film, or maybe you learn different phases of animation during your curriculum: storyboard, animation, compositing, screenwriting, and how much the school helped you in choosing your next profession. I mean, not everyone will be director, not everyone will be animator. Is helpful? Was it helpful? Was your school helpful in defining more or less the area in which you will start at least your career or not? Was that helpful? Claire.
Did you hear that, Claire? How did Gobelin help you navigate your career choices, essentially, where you started and where you ended up through the process of the school, the curriculum, or
Yeah,
did that happen through the school?
I wouldn't say that's something they do, honestly. The school is more, the school is providing a context for us to learn all together. We learn, of course, a lot from the teachers, but I would say we mostly learn from the group and the way we all work together. So what the school provides in terms of professional, like a way to make it through the professional world would be more contacts, I would say, sometimes. But what I did personally was trying to participate to every event that was or wasn't organized by the school, because that's how I made contacts. Try to talk to the teachers because they are the ones who are working in the studio, stop their work and come to the school for 1 or 2 weeks to teach us something, and then they go back to the studio. So they do have professional contacts that are fresh. And of course, there are events, like, for example, when we present our graduation movie, the school organized a jury, and in the jury, there are lots of professionals. And they also bring the students to the Annecy Festival and make an event there. So there is some sort of speed recruiting or something. But I already had my job when I went to the speed recruiting. I'm not, I think I'm maybe a rare case, but there are events like this, but they are pretty rare. So I don't know how it is in other schools, but my advice would be more try to make as many contacts as possible, and anything is a good opportunity to do so. And don't wait for the school to do it for you, because they won't. They are here to teach people, but they're not here to make your career. What is possible, though, is the most important thing is internships, because when you are at school, it's a good opportunity to make new contacts and new experiences to go on an internship. And when the school is over, you cannot do internships anymore. So it's way easier to find an internship than finding a job if you don't have internships and experiences in your curriculum before. And this is something that the school can do, help you to put you in contact with some companies who hire interns. So that's, I would say, what the way that is mostly used by students to use the school to get professional contacts. It's internships.
Also, because I think she also wanted to understand if the way that you sort of experience the curriculum and experience how animation works through Gobelin, did that sort of reveal to you what aspect of the animation career you wanted to work in? Did it help you sort of realize where your space was in animation through the way that you experienced animation in the curriculum in the school?
I think it's probably more efficient for a lot of people than me, because I like to do everything and I have a portfolio with a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's a mess. Don't do that. But I think the school pushes us to try to learn a lot of different things, even though Gobelin is mostly recognized for 2D animation. So we do a lot of 2D animation, and I love that. So I like the school. But we still have exercises of pre-production. We need to train on backgrounds. We do a bit of 3D, so it still allows students to discover a lot of various future potential jobs. For me, it was a bit complicated because everything that I tried, I liked it, basically. So I didn't know what to choose. And it's more my professional experiences that drove me to do one thing or another one. But what was very nice was that because we had lots of opportunities of doing internships, I started with doing 2D animation internships, and because I had lots of opportunities, I wanted to try backgrounds because I was very bad at perspective. So I tried to work on this, and it worked. And I did an internship on layout and background in 2D animation that was very interesting and additive. But it also helped me to think that I wouldn't be a background designer or only that or only a layout artist. So it definitely helped to have those opportunities. Now I also need to mention, because that's what changed my entire career, and that was thanks to Gobelin, so I need to mention it. The school used to have certain kinds of partnership with certain big studios. When I entered Gobelin, for example, they had a partnership with, I think, Disney. Disney US used to take one person each year from Gobelin for an internship. And a lot of us wanted to enter the school also for that kind of opportunity. And when my class started at Gobelin, they announced that it wasn't the case anymore. We were all very disappointed, but they're always trying to put in place that kind of partnership. And when I graduated, they just started a partnership between Gobelin Paris and Netflix Tokyo. And I was the first recipient of that contract, which was what they called a postgraduate fellowship. So that's a one-year contract, which is sort of a springboard for your career. And I had the amazing chance to do that. And they have been taking one person every year for 5 years. So now I think it's the last year. I don't know if it's going to be renewed or not. I hope so, because it was an amazing experience. But that's also the kind of thing that the school tries to implement. But of course, that kind of partnership takes a lot of time to create and a lot of effort to keep. So yeah, that's also something that can happen when you're very, very lucky.
What about you? Did FAMO help you in deciding your career, your profession into animation, or you decided, no, I will be an animator, not a director, or
I think it is
maybe from the beginning you had this idea of being a director?
I think it's a lot that they gave a possibility to try to be a director, to find a fund and to find money and to hire people, like they are fine with this. But in case if a student doesn't feel about this, because quite a lot of students would love to work alone, school doesn't push like to do big project. If you don't feel about this, like school is okay. And it's also like FAMU is more about educate kind of like directors and artists less than animators. We have in Czech Republic also 2 schools, not in Prague, but in Zlín and Plzeň. They educate more animators, like technical things. At FAMU it's more on direction, and also maybe because that we have classes on other departments. We could go to dramaturgy classes, or we have brilliant class psychology in film, which I think it's really important for script writing or also for directing to understand psychology. And we also could collaborate with editors and with DOPs, so it's also about possibility to try to be a director and decide if it's comfortable for me, or maybe I'm not so interested in this. And also, as Claire said, that I think it's really good that there is a possibility to find contacts. Quite often, students could work on teachers' project. For example, for Mihaela Pavlatova, her last feature film, quite a lot of students worked for her film, and also it was a possibility not to be full-time kind of job, but to be kind of part job there and work there to make in-betweens, maybe 2 days a week or something. And it happens quite often that students kind of can work. Yeah, and also students from younger years could also work on master degree projects, help the students to make a master degree project. And also, yeah, I think it's also important that school provide the possibility for students to go on festivals, to Annecy, to Cannes and Berlinale. I think, yeah, these are 3 festivals. And also our Czech Film Festival, Anifilm school really provide everything. So for all the students, for Annecy, Cannes and Berlinale, there are kind of amount of people who could go, and there is kind of, yeah, the process of choose people. But anyway, it's really good, and it's always like, it's not that student go there and a lot is lost there. There is a group of students and a couple of teachers who go with them on the festival and help them to understand what the events here are. Maybe this event of networking, here is other events. So I think it's really, really helpful. Yes, and this pitching class, I think it is also very important. That actually somehow school force you to know how to present your project. It's also not so comfortable for all the students, but it's kind of a good possibility to try it, and you have to try and understand if it works for you or not. Yeah.
I think that a very good thing that we don't have the pitching classes, which is shame because it sounds really good and important, but the whole idea that film funds support student films or could support student films, I think it really prepares you for your independent career, because eventually it's the same way you should make the pitch, or you should make the documents you should apply. It works the same for student films and for independent films later, and that's how most films in Israel are funded by those film funds. So although it's hard as a student to do it, I think it eventually prepares you for the future. Especially if you fail to get the money, it also prepares you. I think I had very mixed experiences, because I didn't have the best experience with my bachelor's degree, with graduating it, and that eventually pushed me to go to Bezalel for my master's and not continue on the same place. As I said, I think there are very different perspectives, and I really was in the middle of wanting to be in the film school or to be in the art school. When I started my bachelor's, I was more oriented into film and narrative and telling a story, and by the time I finished it, I was more into experimental stuff and more into curating even, and not necessarily even filmmaking. So all of this pushed me very much to go to Bezalel and not continue in the university. So I think bad experiences or understanding what you like less is also very important, because you don't have to just like everything. You can also try and see what doesn't work for you. So yeah, that was my experience.
So, I always loved all the part of the animation, so I didn't have a specific part that I wanted to, to get better at the school. And usually the students enter in the CSC with no particular roles in the future. Or maybe I want to be a character designer, or I want to be an animator, I want to be a background artist, and so on. I think that was a very useful portfolio course in the third year, because in the portfolio you can show some school works, and in that way you can show work of each part of a animation process. And but in the same time, in the world of job, you have to present yourself as one role specific for the production. So it was very useful, because I learned both things, and I realized that I love animation because I love the drawing, and I love the artisan part of the production. But at the same time, I realized that probably the most important part of the production for me is the directing, because I love the creative process, and I realized that I love working in a team project, because for me, before the school, there was nothing, because I did the scientific high school. I didn't make a bachelor degree in an artistic field, so I was always alone. So the school was very helpful in this way, and yeah, possibly I wanted to make other personal films, but always with with a teamwork production. And I learned a lot about that. I think also because of the tutor, because we did the graduation film with a tutor. That's we have a meeting every week, and the tutor teacher is very helpful, because he has a very clear view about the film, and often we lost in the animation process. I learned a lot about thinking the film with the viewer perspective. So I realized that I want to make other films in a very productive and commercial way, always in a very positive way, and yeah, that's it.
Some questions? Anyone?
Questions for?
This is more of a comment. Thank you for your wise words. Daria, I just wanted to say that when I first saw your film, Daughter, I remember thinking how amazing the film language was. I mean, it is so well constructed. And I wonder if all of those extra classes in FAMU really helped, understanding the psychology and the fact that all of those other lessons, because it's such a great film, and not just the animation but the film language.
Yeah, thank you. But for sure it helped. And also I forgot to say it's not only classes you could take on other department, but you also could go to teachers to other department to consult your film. And because actually, not because of this, but my husband is an editor and he was also a student. He edited my film, and with him we went to his department, to teacher, to have a consultation in kind of stage of work in progress, if it works. And you could go to all the teachers you want, and it's really kind of fine kind of practice at school, and you could also collaborate on department, on script writing department, and yeah. So it was we went with daughter to, I think, to several teachers, but sometimes you could get lost, of course. So you have so many different comments which are quite often like really opposite. So you have to be careful about this. But it's also because we have these classes on different departments, and I already know, yes, this teacher is like has the same kind of way of thinking as me, and I go to him to get the advice. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question for Daria as well. You mentioned productions, you had co-production from 3 different countries, if I'm not mistaken. What made you choose those specific teams, people, and how did you reach them?
Yeah, it was in my master degree project on Electra. We had co-production of 3 countries, and it was this way that as a bachelor project, we already had to make this pitching on C Animation Pitching Forum, like a student. So it was kind of graduation thing. We have to apply to this pitching and go through this pitching. So I already knew for master degree project where could I apply to present my project. And we applied to C Animation Forum and Animarkt, and pitched the film and the project, and several actually producers from France approached us, and we kind of decided with whom we could work. Yeah, if I answered your question, if I got your question, yeah. And I think for sure, like, the success of Daughter helped me. It was like much more easier for me to, like, I've got kind of trust probably from producers internationally, and it was helpful.
Hi everybody, my question is on the festival run, because I know that most of you, you just apply yourselves to the festivals, but there are also initiatives from state agencies, and especially for you, Daria, I know we awarded your film with a prize in Icona Festival in Corfu, and I don't know if this was a film that you sent there, or if it was sent by the state agency, because I found after that the Czech Republic has funding, a fund to present student films to abroad in several festivals. So there was a selection anthology, and I would like just to know if you are aware during your studies, and this is a question for everybody, because I think maybe schools do not care about the distribution of the films, but maybe you have state agencies in your countries that do like to distribute your student films.
I think it's a very important question, because it's one thing to make a film and then to make people to see a film. And actually at FAMU it works like we have a festival department. We have now 2 people who are in charge of sending all the films to the festivals, but 2 people for all the films, it's not enough. And in case of Daughter, it started like they started to send Daughter to the festivals, but after Annecy and after some other festivals, where it was quite successful. I've got quite a lot of requests from other festivals, and in the beginning I resent it to school, but they didn't have capacity to do this, and I started to do this work. So actually 5 months I made almost full-time job, answering the festivals, sending materials and all this communication, and I was quite exhausted by this because I didn't have energy to work on my next film because of this. And then I met Luz Grosjean, Milieu Distribution on Animateca, and I asked her if she could help me with this. She didn't decide to do this at the first moment when I asked her, because she doesn't like to work on films she don't start to work on from the beginning. But later she approached me that she's going to kind of to continue my work. And for Electra, we already have this relationship with Luz, and from the beginning she makes this work. And that's true. There is a Czech Film Center in Czech, and I'm not sure how it works, but I suppose school could send them a package of kind of best films. I don't know who decide what are the best films, and they choose for their catalog some of them, and then they kind of distribute them to other festivals or on platforms. But it's not this kind of distribution work, so it was like this, and it's not kind of support from Czech Film Fund actually, but Czech Film Fund support. You could ask for a grant to go on a festival if you're selected on kind of these big festivals as, I don't know, Annecy, Cannes, or so you could get money to go with your team, or to go to represent your film there, because it represents the country. And school also provides some money for students who are selected on big festivals for the trip.
So in Israel, we don't have anything national for it. Each school handles the distribution individually. Another important thing I think happens in Israel, and maybe not in other places, is the rights question, because in some schools, mainly one, which is not an animation school, but it's a film school, and there you don't even have the rights for your graduation film. Like, it's the school's film, and the directors only get a link in the end, not even a copy, like the official file, which is, in my opinion, really bad. But in Bezalel and where I did my bachelor's, it's not the case. We do have the rights, so we can distribute it our own, and also the schools send it. But the same as Daria said, mostly in our cases, it's one person in each place that handles all the films, and it's not enough. And not necessarily all the films get the right attention and really somebody to make a strategy. It's really a painful topic for me, because I work in distribution, so I see when it's not done correctly or not with the right attention to it, and it makes a big difference. So it's a good starting point what the school offers you, but I would very highly recommend to people to take their films and do these steps by themselves, because nobody will push you better than you can push yourself. And also, I think in general, it's really important to put yourself out there and promote yourself as a filmmaker, not only your film, even yourself as a creator, which is not very natural to people sometimes, but it's very important to try at least and make this step in this direction.
So we have Chiara. That's this. the distributor is Chiara. Yeah, because I'm the right of the film is the school, and we are not allowed to submit the film in the festivals. We can only promote the short film on the socials, and of course, yeah, with the selections on the festivals, yeah, some socials stuffs. But yeah, it's a very full-time job, and we receive Chiara and also us a lot of requests from other festivals from all the world, mostly after ANSI, because yeah, after ANSI the short film was very successful, and it began a very hard work, respond to all the emails, and I don't know, probably it's when a short film or a film is very requested by the festivals, maybe it's, I don't know, what is better for a distribution, but yeah. For now, it's the right way to distribute the film, and we help each other to find the right way, the right festival also, because they're not all the right festival for the film.
Just
School doesn't give students rights for their films, which I agree is very arguable thing, but we do care about distributing, or at least in the animation department, or because, sorry for interrupting, but distribution for animation is slightly different than from live action, which is looked after in our main realm, but they don't really know about the animation circuit, which is actually different. And so we try to compensate the fact we don't give
Yeah,
them
in fact,
the right, trying to spread.
yeah, for example, I
films.
don't know
So-
anything about festivals before CSC, so the fact that the school submit the films for us is very useful, because we don't know the festival strategy, and so for the beginning, it's a very, we are very grateful to the school for this.
Hey, Claire, is there state festival run support from the school or from the state in France? How does that look like for student films? We mean.
You mean for the distribution of student films? So there is one important, very important partnership with the Annecy Festival, which is not for the graduation movie, but for the movie that people usually do in, it used to be in second year, now it's in third, I think, because it's a demand from the Annecy Festival, and they do 5 or 6 short movies, and they are projected during the festival at the beginning of each session, which is an amazing ad for the school and for the students. And you are sure that those movies are projected in an important festival. And for the graduation movie, the distribution is handled by a company called Miu Production or Miu Distribution. They are producers and distributors. And I think Miu distributes several French schools, probably the Atelier de Sèvres, and maybe a few other French schools. So the distribution company takes care of sending all of the movies to different festivals, and then the movie gets selected or not, and it has its own life. But the school pays a distribution company to handle it for them.
Schools to have Miu
It
right
is.
there. Yes. So
And they are very good distributors for shorts and like artsy stuff and student movies. They're very good for that. So we're lucky.
This was incredible. This is a great sort of peek into how your schools help support and your path through that. I want to thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. I also want to say that Electra is screening on Friday at 6 o'clock in the international competition, and La Notte is screening at 4 o'clock on Friday in the student competition. Please check them out if you haven't already. This is the end of day 1 of Agora. Thank you for being here. There's a welcome party tonight at the Apollo Theater courtyard. It starts at 9. You're all invited, drinks. And Claire, I'm sorry you're not going to be there. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.